guys, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing a Scott Westerfeld author ranking. If you don't already know, which I really don't expect you to because I really dropped the ball on this series, Author Rankings is a series where I take an author that I've read the majority of their books and I just rank all the books that I've read by them in order from least favorite to favorite. The author doesn't necessarily have to be a favorite author, it's just an author where I've read a lot of their books, which tends to be favorite authors, but not necessarily. But in this case, Scott Westerfeld I would consider one of my favorite authors. My last author ranking, also known as my first author ranking, was a ranking of John Green's books, so if you want to see that, click the corner, and it'll also be linked down below, and this will probably be in a playlist along with that, because hopefully I will be doing these more regularly. These are kind of hard to get done because I do have to get all of the books that I want to read by that author read in order to do this, so before I talk about the books that I have read by Scott Westerfeld, there are some books that I haven't read that I've considered less important for the purposes of this video. The first books that I haven't read by Scott Westerfeld are the Leviathan Trilogy, or Leviathan, I don't know how you say that. I am okay with not including them in this video because I have no real plans to read that trilogy. I have no inclination to read it, it's not on my TBR at all, and I just don't have any interest in reading it, so I'm okay with leaving that out. And I haven't read Zeros, which is written by Scott Westerfeld and two other authors whose names I can't remember right now. And I do have an interest in reading that, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it, and I'd rather just have this video up. And Scott Westerfeld has written another duology that I'm not including, but again, same as the Leviathan trilogy, I have no interest in reading that at all. So now we're going to get into the books that I'm ranking. Coming in at number 5 of this ranking is So Yesterday. So Yesterday is the story of a boy named Hunter who is kind of a cool hunter in his city, which basically means he finds people who are innovators. Innovators are like the people who first start trends. Hunter finds people like that and then makes whatever they have innovated into something that the masses can all reproduce, and then it becomes a real trend that other people are doing. It's basically a contemporary novel, but like the ideas along with it basically have to do with innovators and like cool hunting and things like that. And something happens where Hunter is drawn into a big mystery, and there's an examination of consumerism kind of incorporated into this book, and generally it's pretty funny. I enjoyed reading it. I gave it 4 stars. I actually gave almost all of Scott Westerfeld's books 4 stars, and the only reason it's number 5 is just because I felt like it wasn't as memorable. It didn't really bring anything that new to the table, but I didn't dislike it by any means. Number 4 is the Peeps duology. The Peeps duology consists of Peeps and The Last Days. This is kind of a loose duology because The Last Days is kind of more of a companion. Peeps is basically Scott Westerfeld's take on vampires. Peeps follows a person named Cal who is actually a carrier for this vampiric disease, and the disease is actually an STD, and Cal's job is to find people who are carrying the disease and warn them so that they don't go on and spread it, and then find people who are infected by the disease and help them and like keep them away from other people. And while Cal is doing this, he's learning that the Peeps, as he calls them, the people who are infected with this disease, are exhibiting more human-like habits and mannerisms. So something is clearly going on, and Cal is trying to find out what. And then The Last Days takes place in the same world, but after the events of Peeps, and it doesn't follow the same characters as Peeps, but it is still an interesting read. The reason that this is number 4 is because, similar to So Yesterday, it wasn't the most memorable. I thought they were interesting reads, and if it was just Peeps as a standalone, it probably would have been higher, but I found The Last Days to not add too much to the story, and the characters in The Last Days are not people who you meet in Peeps, so it wasn't like I had more interest in them or anything like that. I remember being a little confused that it wasn't following the same characters because I didn't know that it was like more of a companion. Number 3 on this list is the Midnighters Trilogy. The Midnighters Trilogy consists of The Secret Hour, Touching Darkness, and Blue Noon. The Midnighters Trilogy takes place in Bixby, Oklahoma. Basically, these teenagers in this town who are born at midnight are able to access a secret hour that happens at midnight, and it's just an extra hour of time, but for everyone else it's 1 minute, it's 12 to 12:01, but for them it's an hour. And in this hour, scary, creepy things come out, and they can only come out at this time, otherwise they're frozen in time for the rest of the day. And the teenagers who have access to this hour of time also have powers that are amplified during this time that are kind of normal during the day, but they're extremely amplified. So for example, if someone is really athletic or something like that during the day, they have almost like super-like powers, like they can jump really high and things like that. And then a new girl moves into town who is not from the town, and then she also has access to this hour, and it's about them trying to figure out why this is happening, what are these monstrous things that end up roaming around at night, and just like what's going on in their town. So as number 3 on this list, I really enjoyed this series. I thought it was an interesting concept and the execution was done well. I have nothing negative to say about it, I feel like. It just wasn't my favorite, but I really did enjoy it and would recommend it. Number 2 on this list is Afterworlds. I read this the most recently. I actually have a review of this up on my channel, so I'll link it down below and somewhere on the screen. This is the story of Darcy Patel, who is a teenager who is releasing her first YA novel, and she moves to New York City in order to do this. And in alternating chapters, there's the story of her YA novel, which follows Lizzie, who is part of a terrorist attack, and as a result of this attack, she has the ability to gain access to the afterworld. The best and worst part of this was the fact that it's basically 2 novels in one. I really enjoyed having that aspect to it, and I talk more about this in my review. The number 1 series on this list is, you probably guessed it because it's the only one left, the Ugly series, which consists of uglies, pretties, specials, and extras. Since this is my favorite of Scott Westerfeld's books, I'm also going to rank the individual books in the series. The Ugly series takes place in a dystopian society where when you're 16 years old, everyone gets a surgery to become pretty. What this means is that they're literally given plastic surgery to become pretty, like acne is removed, anything that's deemed like wrong about your body is fixed, and things like that. The first 3 books in the series follow Tally Youngblood, who cannot wait to become a pretty, and then her best friend Shay, however, has different feelings about becoming pretty, and Shay runs away in order to avoid having that surgery, and then it becomes Tally's job to find her and bring her back. And then that's what the first book in the series is about, and then the second and third books in the series kind of just build off of what the first book in the series are. And the last book in the series is called Extras, and it actually takes place a little separately from the first 3 books. It takes place after the events of the first 3 books, and it's about a new character, although there is an appearance by the other characters in the series, and a lot of people actually don't like it, but I'll get into this. My least favorite book of the series was actually Specials. I didn't like the direction that it was going into, but overall I still liked the series. My third favorite was Extras. My second favorite was Pretties, and then my first favorite was Uglies. I actually gave Uglies 5 stars, and I gave the rest of the series 4 stars. A lot of people actually don't like Extras because of the different direction that it takes, but I thought it was interesting to see what happens after the aftermath of what Tally and her friends had gone through, and I really liked the series overall. I did read it when I first started reading dystopian series. This definitely was like in the height of my love for dystopian series, but you know, I loved it. That's all I can say. That was my ranking of Scott Westerfeld's novels, or at least the ones that I've read. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any opinions about any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please be sure to leave a comment down below. And be sure to watch my John Green ranking if you're so inclined. And if you like seeing me talk about books, then please be sure to subscribe to my channel because I make more videos where I talk about books. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! The ability to gain access to the afterworld.